Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shota Deolusegun. In today's video, I want us to look at dimensions. What is the reality of dimensions as supported by FoE, which is formula of everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly explain this time energy wave model on the board, then explain how we can visualize dimensions. So now, here we have time wave. It goes like this. And then we have energy wave that goes like this. Now, what this is telling us is that when time scales wide, then energy becomes narrow. And once we have that kind of phenomenon, then we tend to have convergence of mass. And so we have these two masses, one from quantum realm, while the other is from classical realm. They are entangled to each other, and we have them suspended at, around the 0 point of the maxima of time wave, and then the low region around the 0 point of the minima of energy wave. So what I want you to really understand is that this particular phase is the expansion phase, and also we can call it nuclear fusion phase. You know that when deuterium and tritium, when they merge together, they form bigger mass, which is helium. So that can expand space, because as we have bigger masses, then space will be expanding. Then here we have contraction phase, and we can as well call it nuclear fission. Nuclear fission is decaying of mass, and then we can call it gravitational phase. So you can see that time and energy are actually, scaling towards the singularity, the future singularity, which is the singularity of black holes. And here we have evolutionary singularity. So now, when you look at it here, time is actually scaling low while the energy is increasing. That is the phenomenon that we have in the black hole. Because when it gets to singularity, then time will cease to function, to scale, and then energy will continue to increase. But there is one important thing that we need to really understand here, which is this value, which is 9.109 times 10 raised power minus 31. This is quantum mass. Now, for us to get this quantum mass, by the time we supply this classical mass worth that we got by specifying this quantum mass worth in a formula of everything, before we can get this value, it has to travel beyond the symmetric nature of time energy wave interactions. What I mean by that is, that when we have a wave, there is this polarization effect, and that polarization effect will make the trajectory of the waves to be symmetric. But what this formula is telling us is that the nature of universe is asymmetric, though it may be hidden from many people, but what that formula is telling us is that the nature is asymmetric. Also, now for us to really prove this, we can get to know that by analyzing this wave, this symmetric wave amplitude. The amplitude value of this wave at quantum level is 5.7 times 10 raised power minus 48. So that means that when the particle is in motion, we have this particular value, because when we supply this in the formula of everything, we have 0.00000000143. That is the mass worth of quantum in motion. Now, when we look at this, the classical realm, we still have same amplitude of wave, which is 5.7 times 10 raised power 48, but here we have minus. We can just say the minus stands as inverse of the classical magnitude wave. But when we look at the value we have here, we have 1 point. When we supply this in the formula of everything, we have 1.4 times 10 raised power 88. So we can see that mass tends to converge up here, while mass tend to mass tends to get converge at classical realm, but at quantum realm we have the shedding of mass to have this tiny mass word for quantum mass. So now let's go into dimensions. Now we want to, because when we look at this analogy properly, we see that by using the formula of everything, for us to get the actual value of quantum mass, we need to travel beyond the limit of energy. That is, we need to stretch energy beyond its limit threshold to reach the point of spontaneous symmetry breaking to have this. And so it's more or less like the whole operation has traveled into another dimension. So we're going to look at that below here. Now, the Einstein gave us a 4-dimension, which is the 3-dimension of space and then 1 dimension of time. So by merging that, we tend to have something like this. So on this x-axis we have space. The 3D space is being contracted, while we have on the y-axis we have time. Well, actually, in one of my previous videos, I have proved this analogy wrong for the expansion of space, for the expansion of cosmological space or contraction of cosmological space. So now let's look at how it has to be for real. Now we say we have point of singularity. So when we have just a line like this, we have 1D, which is 1 dimension. So objects in this dimension, we only see things as a point. So we have that point of singularity as this. Then by the time we have another line to hit like this, then we say we are in 2D, which is 2 dimension. Now by being in this 2 dimension, this is what we have. So from the singularity point, we have the trajectory of time, and then we have the trajectory of energy wave like this. Okay. So now the 2 dimension, we have this for 2D. Now this is where the mechanics, or this is where the mechanics of relativity starts. It starts from 2 dimensions, because we can say this line is relative to this particular line. So relativity starts from here. Why the one, which is 1D, stands for the point, which is a singularity point. It stands for the point. So in 1D, we have the stacking of time and energy in that dimension. But in 2D, we have it being expanded relative to one another. But when we now get to 3D, in 3D we have this. I'm coming. Let me draw it properly. 3D. In 3D, we have this. 3D. So this is 3 dimension. Okay. So now what I want us to know is that here, this 3D, it's and we have the inverse of, we have 2D and then the inverted version of 2D on top to make the 3D. That is how you have to look at the whole thing. So let's say we have this as a 2D plane. Then if there is another 2D plane above like this, if there is another 2D plane above, then we then have the box for 3D. So inverted, we have 2D, we have two 2Ds being inverted and being entangled to each to one another. That is what we know as 3D. Then 4D. What are we going to have as 4D here? Don't forget that this is what Einstein called 4D. 4D. This is what Einstein called 4D in his time. But now, we already know that having one line and having another line being inverted to it gives us 2D. Then having a plane, then having another plane being inverted to it gives us 3D. So now what will 4D looks like? So now let's look at how to do this. So now we have box for 3D. Then definitely we're going to have two boxes being inverted to one another or to each other. That will actually give us 4D. So I don't know how I'm going to draw this. Or okay, let's say we have another box here, and so we have this, and then we have this. We have another box. Then when that box get entangled to this, like that, then we have our 4D, 4 dimension. So what you really need to know here is that time and energy, they travel along the formation of dimensions as they progress. So it is not that we have time at fourth dimension to the 3D of space to form 4D. So time and energy, they emerge from the singularity, then they go and they continue to spread out, and as a result of their interactions, we have dimensions. So now, to explain this, what this formula of everything is telling us is that before we can get the reality of an element, or before we can get the reality of electron, then we need to travel beyond the boundary limit of that particular element. What am I trying to say? What I'm saying is, if you look at hydrogen has two isotopes, which are deuterium and tritium. So when the two merge together, we have helium. Now, at the point of merging, you discover that the energy becomes intense. And once they can actually overcome that repulsive force, then they will form another identity, which is helium. So before we can actually move away from identity of hydrogen into helium, we need to travel beyond the energy limit threshold of hydrogen. So that is what that is telling us, and that is what we see here when we apply formula of everything. So we need to travel beyond the limit of the atom in which we the atom in which we have these electrons. We need to travel beyond the limit of that atom, and when we are in the realm of the bigger atom, we then get the reality of the hydrogen. So that is that. So the universe as we have it, unlike what majority scientists believe on, which is having symmetric nature for the universe to explain the reality of it, that is not actually true. The reality of it is having a symmetric nature. And though they have even discovered that by the, what is it called, the margin of antimatter and matter. Yes, the margin difference between antimatter and matter, they know already that universe might be asymmetric in nature. Thank you very much. So that is my own observation as related to dimensions. Make sure you like this particular video, share it with your friends, then make sure you click on the notification bell so as to be notified for the subsequent videos. And don't forget, this is a novel discovery. I'm going to actually specify the link to my research publication in the description below. You can click on that to see what the whole thing is all about. Then comment, let me know what your opinion is concerning this. Thank you. God bless you. Stop.